Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at gcnlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Dr. Shealy, are you blessed?
I'm blessed. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Dr. Shealy. I just want to mention to our broadcast classroom that your dial is set correctly to Sunny Skidmore. Sunny Skidmore's favorite broadcast. She is the owner of KLID AM 1340, the Spirit of Poplar Bluff. Dr. Shealy, she calls me quite often and reminds me each time that she just will not miss, if she can help it, a Wednesday broadcast of USA Prepares with Dr. Norman Shealy. If she's in her pickup truck and she's traveling about Poplar Bluff, she will pull over into a parking lot and just listen to the broadcast from her radio station, KLID AM 1340. So she just loves listening to Dr. Norman Shealy. So I just wanted to let you know, Dr. Shealy.
Thank you.
She's in her 80s, and she's been in radio for decades, and she's a broadcaster, has been a broadcaster, has been on television, and she's promised me that she will come on the air with us and just chat about radio. So that's coming up. I don't know when. She's really, really busy. But thank you so much, Sunny Skidmore, for putting this broadcast on the air. Dr. Shealy, are you having any meetups scheduled for, at your clinic?
Not until sometime in January. I haven't set the date yet, but we will be doing it on Mondays.
That sounds fabulous.
And,
so Mondays, yeah.
Well, I've got to find out whether we can get enough people to do what needs to be done. Because my most exciting concept of the moment is there is a chemical called adrenomedulin. It's a hormone that is perhaps the only biochemical hormone that measures at a biochemical level your life expectancy to a greater or lesser extent. In other words, it's one of those interesting ones that should stay low. People who live to be 100 have a level that is still similar to those who are 20 years of age. All stress raises that chemical. There's a whole bunch of research on it. There's not a single commercial lab that measures it. However, through connections at the university, I could get it done if I could get 50 people who are willing to be tested. And, of course, most people who are going to be over the age of 20 are going to have already the evidence of stress. Their adrenomedulin is going to be high. And I need them to spend at least 36 hours over a 4-week period in the scalar room to see if that will re-euthanize, if you will, YOUTH, their adrenomedulin. Because if it does, that would be the most exciting thing I could think of.
Okay, so if we break this down, 36 hours, 6 times 6, so 6 days, six visits of 6 hours.
Well,
in the scalar room.
It would have to be 6 visits of 6 hours in a 4-week period would work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm thinking of guys like me, Mrs. Finelli, who who would come from, 100-mile round trip or maybe a little bit
How
more.
about your mother?
Well, I was thinking when you said that, I was thinking we've got 3 right here that
Well,
I
was
think
hoping you'd
would
include
love
your
to
mother
participate.
because obviously,
Yeah,
I
that's what I'm
think
thinking.
she's a good example because she's a pretty hardy 80-plus year old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was outside yesterday walking around the farm. Yep. Yeah, I was thinking Mrs. Finelli, and I could participate in that. So you got 3. You got 3 right there. 47 to go. Well, with you, 46 to go.
And only 46 to go because I'm going to be one.
Okay, yeah. Please put us down. So, what do we tell the class, Dr. Shealy, if they want to participate in this 36 hours? Are there costs involved?
No cost. I'll pay it all. And by the way, it's not cheap, but it's, to me, this is the most exciting thing I can imagine for the possibility of rejuvenation. It's a lot simpler, less expensive, and easier than the Rejuvenatrix.
And it's absolutely non-invasive at all.
And totally safe.
So we're talking. Well, can you describe? Because I've been in your scaler room. I've spent a couple hours in there. As a matter of fact, I didn't want to leave. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you know this, Dr. Shealy, but Calvin and I and Ken Hurley, USA Preparedness instructor, Ken Hurley were there, and we forgot what time it was, and and Bob, your assistant of many years, came in to remind us what time it was. So he very politely showed us the door. But we were that relaxed, Dr. Shealy. We were having a great time.
Yeah, it is relaxing, no question about it. And the telomere measuring, is $400+, and it's much more tedious than being able to do this blood chemistry. If I can prove this particular theory, then I might be able to get a lab set up to do the test for people.
This is fabulous. So this is breaking news, no question about it.
Yeah, I am excited, to say the least.
And can you spell that hormone name one more time for us?
Yeah, adrenomedulin, ADRENOMEDULLIN.
Okay, I was right, except for 2 L's instead of, I put 1 L. Adrenomedulin. Okay, great. I'm all excited. So when do you think you want to start this? A few weeks? Get everybody all lined up?
Well, I've got to hear from Dr. Durham. He's the professor at MSU who's agreed to do it for me to be sure that he gets this set up. But I'm hoping that we can get it started not later than mid-January.
Okay. And what requirements do you have? Obviously, if you're willing to have my mom in the 80-year-old range, and me in the 60s.
I would not want to take anyone earlier than 30. So I would say 30 to 100.
30 to 100. All right. 30 to 100. I just wrote that down. And they'd have to come to Springfield on their own transportation to get to your clinic, right?
And it could be Monday through Friday. And if we had enough people, I would even open up the building on Saturday to have it happen.
Okay, I would think that there are a number of people who know us personally, who are listening to the sound of our voice, that would think that are within 100 miles of Springfield, who would just love to participate in this. Now, the only downside, Dr. Shealy, that I can think of this whole thing is someone who is not healthy would be learning that they're not healthy and that their life expectancy is not going to be as long as they would like it to be.
The question is, Vince, even if they're not healthy, but they don't have any major disease to make them think they're not healthy, if this works for healthy people to make you more youthful, it ought to reduce your adrenal metabolic. It's really a stress response chemical.
Mm-hmm.
So let's assume that you've got a high level of adrenal metabolic because you're still coping with your stress, but it's showing. Theoretically, it could lower it even in someone like that.
You know, I was thinking, as we were describing this, I was thinking about my experience in your scalar energy room. And there were just a few of us left, and I met this gentleman for the very first time, never saw him, and his name is Calvin, as you introduced us.
Right.
And he has some pretty serious pain and some pretty serious challenges ahead of him medically. And he and I were having a great time. It was like a reunion, Dr. Shealy. It was like we were best buddies from a while ago. We're having so much fun that you wouldn't even know that he was in pain. Maybe his pain was removed while we were in that room. Is that possible?
Well, seems to be better. We've had several people who seem to be getting reduction of pain by being in that room.
Mm-hmm. You know, for those listening, Dr. Shealy, they've got to be saying, for those who don't know us, they've got to be saying, there's a catch. There's a catch to this. What's the catch? There's got to be a catch. And I remember hearing that when I moved to Virginia, and we were manufacturing computers, and we were the absolute lowest price by easily a third, maybe 50% lower than our competitors. And people would come into our shop and say, okay, but what's the catch? And I go, there is no catch. So can you share with our class, there's no catch? There is absolutely no catch to this.
I'm paying for the test. And if they were to try to, I got a quote. The only quote I've been able to get was to send the blood to a lab in England for $1,500 a shot.
Wow.
And so I am able to get it a lot cheaper than that in this country, but it's still going to cost me, a few bucks.
I'm sure.
More than a few bucks.
So the bottom line is, for those who are interested, it won't cost them anything, but they've got to stick to it.
They've got to give us the 36 hours in 4 weeks because for some reason the test equipment, the second blood has to be done within 4 weeks because of our buying this test kit, and it only lasts 4 weeks. So,
okay. Well, let's talk a little bit more about this when we come back. So, we're talking about measuring our potential life expectancy, and we're talking about measuring the effect of scalar energy on reducing stress so that we can live longer. What a great deal. Class, Dr. Norman Shealy's with us, and we're talking about scalar energy, and we're talking about living longer. We're talking about reducing stress, and Dr. Shealy's study to find out exactly what the results really are, medically tested. Dr. Shealy, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us? How to get in touch with you or how to contact you?
Yeah, I think it would be best if people did an email, norm@normshealy.com. Mm-hmm. By the way, I just sent you one of the articles. I've collected about 50 so far on the fact that having a low level of adrenomedullin is critical for longevity. Okay, great. Thank you. Now, there's one other thing about that that I didn't find while we're on the phone, but there's a later article about that one that I just sent you, and they think that part of it is the Mediterranean diet in general, but a bigger part may be that they eat a lot of rosemary. Okay. So what we might do with the 50 people is give half of the people some dried rosemary to add to their diet every day, but not the other half. Okay. Dr. Shealy, in order to make this a little bit easier on you to process these requests, would you like us to say something special in the subject line, like life expectancy test or study or something like that? Well, I would say if you're willing to spend some time in order to live longer.
Okay.
Something like that.
Okay, there you go. So that's the plan, class. Contact Dr. Shealy. Send him an email, norm@normshealy.com. NORM, as in Norman. Shealy, SHEALY.com. Norm@normshealy.com. Dr. Shealy, we've got Jack in Missouri. Jack, welcome.
Hello, Vincent. Hello, Dr. Shealy.
Hi. What's up?
You just answered my question. I'm an instructor for USA Prepares and another instructor. Yeah. We live 200 miles away, but we was wanting to volunteer for the test.
Wow. Well, if you're willing to come down here, we'd love it.
Okay.
Jack?
Obviously, got to keep the instructors for USA Prepares alive.
Jack, would you share with Dr. Shealy what we've talked about on the air? Just give us a thumbnail of what we've talked about. The kind of things that you've experienced.
I'm a disabled Vietnam veteran from the Marine Corps. And Vincent and I have discussed on air just the training that Marines have to go through. And I understand it's not as bad as it was when I went through, but it was a complete rebuilding of your body and mind to it was more or less brainwashing and the things that you had to go through. And the other guy is Carl Black, who's an instructor. He did 20 years in the Navy and has quite a few ailments and stuff from that. We're both disabled from the military.
And you talked about even the deaths that were in boot camp. Some of the guys just died right there in boot camp, and I guess their families were told that they were training accidents or something, but it really was not quite training accidents, right?
Yeah, there was 13 died in the 13-week period. Average one a week died while I was in boot camp. Of course, that's, I don't know, probably 5,000 men, but there was an average of one a week that was died in training.
Wow. Government complicity as usual.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jack, while we're on this, would you just share a little bit? What would you hold until we come back and just share? Because I don't know if Dr. Shealy has heard these kind of stories, but if you could share some of the horrors of what you've been through. And I'm so glad. I'm looking forward to meeting you at these sessions, and I hope our time there will overlap. We'll get a chance to chat. But please hold that line and come back with us right after the break. Class Dr. Norman Shealy is with us, and Jack has joined us via telephone. He is a U.S. Marine Corps veteran. He spent time in Vietnam, and he's been through some horrors, and he's going to share them with us for a couple minutes with Dr. Norman Shealy. Horrors of training, and as you heard him say, there was about one death per week in boot camp, and these are people who are at the peak of health, and one death per week. Jack, please continue.
Yes, Vincent, the deaths mostly occurred from people trying to get out of there. The Marine Corps recruit depot in San Diego is right next to San Diego Airport. There's just a fence between the boot camp and the airport. The three guys made it over the fence, and two of them got run over on the runway. One actually climbed up in a wheel well of an airplane and flew from San Diego to New York City, and was frozen in flight and died 2 or 3 months later. The other 2 or 3 was suicides. One happened to be in the platoon right next to mine. And to show you how terrible it is, the guy cut his wrist with his bayonet one day, and the corpsman actually showed him how to do it right. So the next night, he did it right. So that's just sort of the mentality of that time in training. You know, one guy, the drill instructors would pick one person out of platoon every night and take them in the head, which is the bathroom, and more or less beat them up. And they hit this one guy, and he fell and hit his head on the commode, and it killed him. And the 3 drill instructors did go to jail. But, I mean, that was the mentality in that time. That was in 1971.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's when my draft number was 211.
Well, mine was 53. And I did join the Marine Corps, but I was getting drafted into the Army. And my brother was in Vietnam at the time and called me and told me that the Army did not have their stuff together in Vietnam, but the Marines did. And if I was going to have to go, I should do that. And that's what I did. And I have to admit that when I did go to war, I was completely prepared to go to war. But I've been paying for it ever since, to this day.
And what did they make you do that has caused you to pay for it every day? What is it?
Well, number one, I have PTSD. I have a number of ailments. I've had 24 operations. 20 of them has been on bones. I have a bionic arm. I've had 3 surgeries on each knee, and I get rooster combs shot in them every 6 months to keep from having knee replacements. I have traumatic brain injury from part of a truck that was blew up that landed on my head, and a back problem. And, of course, as you get older, everything gets worse. I was able to work after I got out of the Marine Corps for 20 years, but at the ripe old age of 42, I had to retire.
Dr. Shealy? Dr. Shealy, you have any comments?
Is he still there?
John, our engineer, did we lose Dr. Norman Shealy? No, here we go. Okay.
I hear you.
Okay, we got you, Dr. Shealy.
Okay, good. I'm saying I think that 2 of the great evils of government are, first of all, mistreating anyone who goes into the service, and number 2, not taking care of the veterans. I mean, those are unacceptable aspects of government. But then my basic philosophy is all government is evil, some is more so.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I would like to add that I have been fighting the VA for care and for disability for 40 years. I do have partial disability, but I'm 100% disabled, and they just won't give it to me. But I'd much rather go back to war as have to fight the VA system and our government for as long as I've had to fight. But I'm a fighter, so I don't give up.
What's your birthday,
Jack?
Mr. Grins?
You what?
What's your birthday?
1/2/53.
Okay, so you're a good old Capricorn. They are fighters.
Yes, yes, sir. I think Vincent and I are about the same age.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Jack, in Missouri, I'll tell you what, when I get a chance to meet you, you can give me offline some of the particulars, and I will go to bat for you. I will contact the VA, and I'll rattle some cages, and we'll make enough noise that maybe they'll change their minds and help you.
Well, I'm hoping with the new president that keeps saying that he's going to help the veterans, I'm hoping he's going to revamp the VA system, because, you know, they make it almost impossible to jump through all the hoops. You know, if you misspell one word or don't cross a T, they'll reject your claim. You know, it's just really, really, and these young veterans come in. I go to group every Tuesday with there's one other Marine and I. They're our age, and the rest of the guys are like 40 in the 40s, 30s and 40s, and they're Iraq and Afghanistan veterans, and they're getting treated worse than we did when we came back from Vietnam.
Well, I have a friend who was in the military, and he needed surgery, and he had a lot of difficulty jumping through all those hoops, and it was surgery that was necessary in order to continue living. And we weren't the only solution, but we might have been part of it. We made a lot of noise. And I have a feeling that maybe some of that noise that came across from USA Prepares helped him get that surgery. And every once in a while I see him, and he's looking better and better. So we may be able to help you.
That's great.
Okay, Jack,
Okay,
I'm looking forward to seeing you. So send that email to Dr. Shealy and let him know.
Okay.
Send it to Norm at Norm Shealy, and I'm looking forward to relaxing with you in the scalar room. That's going to be great.
Yeah, that will be great. Thank you both.
Thank you so much for calling in. Kyle in Montana. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the scalar room too. And by the way, thank you so much for the Christmas.
That is a long trip.
Yeah. But Kyle and I've been on the air together. He's another USA Prepares instructor, and so is his wife, Sharon. And by the way, thank you so much for the Christmas card from you and Sharon, Kyle.
Oh, you're welcome. We're not online yet, but my wife's got a laptop now. She got it for Christmas early, and so we're going to try to work that out so we can get online and be able to get Norm's stuff and things. But Jack brought up something that I'm going to kind of piggyback off of. Dr. Shealy, I've been having trouble with my knee. First of all, though, actually, I wanted to thank you for the advice for my buddy, Tom, that needed some help with his prostate. He went and got that progesterone cream and that double-strength saw palmetto, and he said that some nights now he can sleep plumb through the night, and it's only been like 3 weeks.
I'm knocking wood. That's wonderful. Thank you.
I just wanted to thank you. You're such a resource and such an incredible man. I just people are crazy not to listen to you. But anyway, I've got a question for you. I've had trouble with my left knee for years, and I just went into the doctor and they X-rayed it. And between the two joints that make up the knee there, I don't have any, I don't know what they call it, that fluid or whatever it is,
right,
in between the two knees. And I'm looking at a knee replacement. That's their deal.
Now, Kyle, there's a much, much, much better way to do it. There is a way of taking stem cells from your body and injecting them into the knee and having it regrow the cartilage. There's a place here in East St. Louis, Chesterfield, St. Louis, near St. Louis, called Blue Tail. They've got a picture of a lizard in their logo, and I guess that's because lizards can regrow their limbs. but I would strongly try that before I would have a knee replacement.
Well, my biggest problem is cost. I wondered if something like that would be covered with Medicare, because I'm still dealing
now
with
that I cannot answer, but I think sometimes it is, and I would at least look into it. Now, I don't know if there's anybody in Montana doing it, but it's called Blue Tail in Chesterfield. You can look it up on the internet. You can call them.
Okay.
And, you know, sure.
Blue
Kyle,
Tail.
please hold. Kyle, can you hold through the break?
Yes, I'd love to.
Great. And Kyle, talk to Sharon about making a combined trip for Blue Tail and the Scalar Room. We'll be right back. Dr. Norman Shealy's with us. NormShealy.com. If you'd like to be part of the study, please send Dr. Shealy an email at NormShealy.com. NormShealy.com. Same address to get his free newsletter multiple times per week. Kyle in Montana's with us. Kyle, please continue. Oh, by the way, Kyle, it's only 2,400 miles. I just checked.
Oh, yeah. Should be able to do that in 3 days if I drive, because I hate airports.
17 hours, 43 minutes each way. Now that's what Google says in terms of distance. Now, of course, you can't do it that fast. They assume that you don't have to make any pit stops or get fuel, but and that you can go way over the speed limit. But I figure maybe the mileage is probably right, 1,200 miles.
Now, I'm going to give you the phone number for the Blue Tail Medical Group, Kyle.
Okay, hold on just 1 second, Dr. Shealy, and I'll grab my pen. Okay.
636.
Okay.
778-2900.
Oh, thank you very much. 636-778-2900.
You got it.
Well, I had one other question for you real quick, because I know we're at the top of the hour. The only other reason I was really seriously considering this knee replacement is that I've got bone spurs on the top part of my joint growing down, and they're good. They're a good 3/8 to a half an inch long.
Well, my understanding is that at least in some people, it can totally rebuild the joint. So I would still look into the possibility of stem cells. Growing your own joint, if you can do it, is a heck of a lot nicer than a replacement.
Yeah, I agree. I know a lot of people around here that it seems to be a real popular surgery the older you get. My mom had both of them replaced, and I've known 2 or 3 people that actually in our church that have had both knees replaced, and they say it takes a while, but they get to the point to where, they say it's just like your regular knee, but with no pain.
Right.
The question I had about it was that kind of concerned me was, there's a plastic that they put between those 2 steel pieces that they put on the ends of your knees.
Right.
And I'm wondering about that plastic wearing off and kind of working its way into your system over the long term.
That's a rare possibility. Just more commonly, they aren't as good as hip replacements.
Okay, interesting. Okay, all right, because I only know one guy, actually, and he had both knees replaced. I only know one guy that wasn't satisfied, and that's only with one knee. For some reason, they got the angle or something not quite right. And so but every single person that I talked to that had it done sure did like it. But I will give those Blue Tail people a call. And I just want to thank you for all your information every week, Dr. Shealy. It's just amazing. And I wish in some respects you and Vince were up closer this way or we were that way. But my wife, I listen to some of the things that goes on back down there in Missouri, and and I think to myself, man, I live in Mayberry compared to living down there, Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's talking about the Blue Plague. and some of the violence.
We just don't have that problem around here at all. 90, I know a whole bunch of the deputies and stuff in this valley. I've known them, some of them for 30 years. And literally, they're some of the best people around. I mean, they give you the shirt off their back. Just really good people. So, thanks for letting me on, Vince. I appreciate it. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, and Kyle, you might want to stay tuned to the just after top of the hour. I'd like to ask Dr. Shealy about metal on metal joint replacements, and what about all those particles that wear off and circulate through the circulatory system? All those particles of metal, are they a long-term killer? So that's a question that I've got. Kyle, thank you so much for being with us. Dr. Norman Shealy and I will be right back after these few short commercial announcements. We're also going to talk about the basic cause of all disease: flaxseed oil, turmeric and curcumin, purple foods, tests for cancer, and more. We'll be right back. Everyone all set, cocked, locked? Hour number 2 of USA Prepares with Dr. Norm Shealy. And class, if you'd like to participate in the test that I and Mrs. Finelli and my mom will be participating in, we talked about this hour number 1, please email Dr. Shealy. And you can do that at norm@normshealy.com. So if you're wondering what hour number 1, it's free. It's limited to 50 people, Dr. Shealy, total of
That's
50.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually,
That's
49 because I'm going to do it.
Yeah, 49 plus Dr. Shealy. Actually, it's less than that because there are 3 of us already signed up. Actually, 4 of us, looks like so far. So if you're interested, please contact norm@normshealy.com. Dr. Shealy, I was reading about purple foods, and it says, this is an article on dailymail.co.uk, and it says, on a health kick, eat purple food. From fighting cancer to weight loss, 5 reasons this color is good for you. And when we talk about color, we're not talking about food colors. We're talking about naturally occurring purple foods. For example, it says purple foods are packed full of an antioxidant.
Anthocyanins.
Yes, anthocyanins, and which fight cancer, aging, and inflammation. So, I mean, why not eat purple foods? So what are we talking about, Dr. Shealy? We're talking about purple cabbage.
Purple cabbage. That's one. And of course, that whole family, the cabbage family, is good in general. Even red, even green cabbage has lots of goodies.
Mm-hmm. And okay, and when it comes to cabbage, Dr. Shealy, I will make a spicy soup. I'll take a full head of cabbage. I'll wash it and cut it into strips, and I'll put it in a spaghetti boiling pot. I'll add some chicken broth, some white pepper, a little bit, like a tablespoon of vinegar, and it turns out to be just a great. It's like a Chinese soup. It's absolutely fabulous. Maybe I should post my recipe that I used. But cabbage, I think, is great.
Look at beets. That's your next probably best food is purple.
Mm-hmm. And let me ask you if the way I'm doing beets is okay, Dr. Shealy. What I do is, if we don't have fresh beets, I'll buy them in a can. I'll pour out the beet juice and I'll put them in a jar, clean jar, of course, and add some apple cider vinegar. Put it in the refrigerator for a few days, and then I'll have mildly pickled beets. Is that acceptable?
Absolutely. That's the way I like them.
Okay, there you go. And let's see, what else? Berries, purple berries, a great way to go. So there are many foods, including purple sweet potatoes.
Yes, I've seen those, but I've never grown them. I'll have to see if I can get some purple plants next year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we're saying that we should eat, no matter what, we should add to our diet purple purple foods that are naturally occurring that are purple. Purple carrots.
Yep.
Purple sweet potatoes. Let's see what else. Acacia berries. Am I saying that right? ACAI. Okay.
Acai.
Acai. Okay. Acai berries. All right. Anything else that we should consider that's purple, Dr. Shealy, that we should eat for the antioxidant?
Well, there is a purple asparagus.
Okay. Rhubarb? Is that considered purple?
My rhubarb is not purple, but maybe there is one.
Okay. All right. Anything else that we should consider for our diet that's purple?
Well, I'm going to look it up and see.
Okay. While we're doing that, is there a productivity difference, Dr. Shealy, between early risers and night owls? I remember Ben Franklin, early to bed, early to rise, makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. And I know some night owls. Is there a difference, or is it just a choice?
Well, it's both. It is, to a large extent, something most people seem to be born with. They're either night owls or morning larks. But night owls, because our society doesn't really cater to them, don't get enough sleep. Almost never do they get 7 or 8 hours of sleep, because they go to bed very late, and under most circumstances, they still have to get up at a reasonable hour, reasonable by society standards. And so roughly everybody that I know who's a true night owl does not get adequate sleep. That means they're more prone to every known disease, from heart disease to cancer, depression, etc., and they don't live as long. So yes, I think it would behoove most of them to try to make a change.
Okay. Well, I know that there are some people who work the night shift, and sometimes they get paid what's called a night shift differential, meaning they get a little bit of monetary incentive to work hours that most people don't work. But you're right. If they want to go shopping, if they want to be with friends, many of their friends probably don't work the night shift. And then they've got to split their life into 2 different shifts.
Hey, by the way, I've got the purple fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
Blackberries, blueberries, black currants, Concord grapes, dried plums, elderberries, grape juice, purple figs, purple grapes, plums, raisins, and by the way, there are purple raspberries. They don't have them here, but that would remind me. In the vegetables, they include black olives, purple asparagus, purple cabbage, purple carrots, eggplant, purple Belgian endive, purple peppers, purple potatoes, black salsify, and again, they don't have beets, but they should. So there's quite a variety.
I try to eat about a half a can of beets a day. Is that
fabulous.
Okay. You mentioned grapefruit. Dr. Shealy, is there a caution that we should know about with for those who are on medications of whatever kind and grapefruit increasing the strength of medications? Yes.
And you just have to really look on the internet to be sure, because I don't know them. As you know, I'm not much on medications anyway. I don't like them with or without grapefruit. But some of them really can be toxic if you have grapefruit with them.
Okay. So are we saying that when in doubt, don't have grapefruit until you do the research?
Well, I hope to know within a week or two. Dr. Durham has got to get everything organized, because it's quite a tedious operation to measure this stuff.
No, I'm talking about grapefruit. If a person is considering having grapefruit and they're on medication? Should they just avoid it until they figure out, go to the internet and do the research about whether grapefruit will interact negatively with their medicine?
Exactly.
Okay. So that's the all points bulletin for our class about grapefruit. Dr. Shealy, flaxseed oil. I remember many, many years ago, back in the 1960s, Dr. Carlton Fredericks was on the air. My mom used to listen to him, and he was on a very large radio station broadcasting on the East Coast, and he would talk about flaxseed oil and the benefits of it. What are your thoughts about flaxseed oil?
It's good. Flaxseed oil has some good omega-3s, among other things.
Mm-hmm.
And of the vegetable oils, it's one of the best.
Okay. Is there a reason not to take flaxseed oil?
No.
Okay. Can you overdose on flaxseed oil? Like, let's say if it comes in a 1,300 milligram soft gel, 1, 2, 3 a day. What do you recommend?
Yeah, I probably would not take more than 1,500 milligrams.
Okay. So that'd be 1 a day.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What about turmeric and curcumin mixed together? I've seen these advertised, turmeric and curcumin. They call it a complex, and it comes in a capsule, and it says antioxidant support, helps support joint function, mobility, and comfort.
Well, it's true. Interestingly, however, curcumin is far better absorbent if it has piperine, which is an extract of black pepper. So I try not to bother getting a curcumin or extract unless it comes with piperine.
Piperine. And if it doesn't, and you like black pepper, can you just add black pepper to your diet?
Oh, sure. But I would take it at the same time. It has to be in the stomach at the same time.
Okay, black pepper. You know, it's funny as we're going through this broadcast, I was thinking about Lieutenant Columbo, and I must sound like Columbo here. I'm just writing my notes and describing what I'm writing, and it brings back those visuals in my mind of Lieutenant Columbo writing his little notepad. What he found out. Okay, so we've talked about purple foods, turmeric and curcumin, flaxseed oil. Dr. Shealy, is there a test for cancer? Let's say someone thinks that, just not feeling right. Maybe he or she has cancer. Can we talk about that when we come back? Is there a test, a blood test, for example, that's, not one of these painful procedures, but a simple maybe blood test to find out if a person might have cancer, and that would be the first step to find out if further investigation is necessary. Dr. Shealy and I'll talk about that when we get back. NormShealy.com. Class Dr. Norman Shealy is with us. If you'd like to go to his website, NormShealy.com, NormShealy.com, NormShealy.com. And that's where you can sign up for the same newsletter that I get. And if you'd like to contact Norm Shealy, norm@normshealy.com. Dr. Shealy, cancer, it's everywhere. It's in every family. It's, there's radiation everywhere. There's toxins everywhere. We've talked about this for years. Is there a test that a person could get, a blood test, for example, or some kind of a skin scraper, something that's not really painful, to find out if he or she may have a reason for further investigation to find out if there is cancer present?
Well, there's not really a terrifically accurate test. Now, there are tests that are used. One is called CEA. It's a carcinoembryonic. There's a CA-125, a CA-27.29, a CA-15.3. All of those are used to monitor people, mostly who've already been diagnosed with cancer and been treated, to see whether the tests have gone down. in general, if you have no symptoms, I would say the one essential test to get some, occasionally is a homocysteine. Everybody should have that test at age 30 and maybe every 5 or 10 years thereafter, because it is an indication that it could set you up to develop cancer if it's above 7.5, and other diseases as well, and a high sensitivity C-reactive protein. If that is below 1, I wouldn't worry about cancer, because almost inevitably you're going to have an elevated test if you've got active, inflammation, if you've got cancer.
Okay. Now, if a person has just plain old inflammation from a joint or surgery or something like that.
That also could give you an elevated high sensitivity CRP.
Mm-hmm. And then what do you do if that's the case and, or you've been in a car accident or banged up or some kind of physical trauma? Do you just monitor it then?
Right.
Okay. All right. Dr. Shealy, I was reading a story. It's quite alarming to me about China. And what caused my concern in reading about this story was I bought something from China, and it's manufactured there, and I was thinking about all of the pollution. We have some pretty strict regulations here about pollution. Maybe we're still polluting way more than we should, but even so, it seems like China has a extensive amount of pollution. And so much so that planes have been unable to land in one city in China. They can't see where they're going. You can't see across the city. It's absolutely smog covered. And the article went in to discuss children not going to school because they don't want the children out in this smog. So I guess keep the children in, and maybe the air is a little cleaner inside than outside their homes. But here's the point. If there are people, children and adults, walking around breathing this air, they are the filters for the pollution. The pollutants attach themselves to these people's lungs, and they are the filters removing the pollutants. How is it possible that they can have health in an environment where they are literally the vacuum cleaners of the debris in the air? I think it's alarming. If you put it in those kinds of terms, it's alarming that they're literally shutting down all the factories in this one particular large city, and flights and transportation and schools, because they've polluted themselves to the point where they can't even see where they're going, literally. My question is, obviously we've got to stop it, or that's my statement, but what do we do in this case? Obviously masks and so forth, but is there anything else we can do if we were to experience something like that? And it's alarming more than I can state. Dr. Norm Shealy's with us. So, Dr. Shealy, the pollution in cities across the country is pretty horrific to begin with, but in China it's even worse. You can't see across the city, and people are wearing masks. And when I say they're wearing masks, I'm not talking about just one of these, they call them comfort masks, 1 or 2 layers thick of filter paper, like we might wear if we're sanding wood or something like that. These people are wearing masks that are probably a half-inch thick or thicker because of the particulates. Do you have any thoughts on what we can do?
Minor, you really need a gas mask.
Yeah. It's extremely serious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, in the home, the electronic filters are excellent.
Okay.
I can't tell you much more about them because we don't have central air, and I used to have one when we lived in Wisconsin that had central air, but they can really remove all kinds of stuff.
I'm trying an experiment. I had absolutely had it with my my 2000 Mercedes. It's got so much computer equipment that's just driving me crazy, and it's controlling me rather than me controlling it. So I decided that I would look for an older vehicle, and I found one. I found a 1996 Mercedes diesel, and it looks like my 2000 model, and it was probably less than the sales tax that was originally paid on it. So I did not pay very much for this thing, but I violated one of my rules, and one of my rules is not to buy a car from someone who smoked. But I don't think it was owned or used very much by the smoker who smoked heavily. But I put in it an ion generator. So I've got it in the garage, and I've got this ion generator running, producing negative ions, and I've closed up the windows, and that's before putting gloves on and scrubbing the seats from the smoke residue, the nicotine and the tars and so forth, and after a few days, I want to find out if the negative ions just obliterate the residue of smoke, and I'll find that out. Have you heard of anyone using negative ions to do that?
I'm aware that people do, but I don't know of any research on it. There's also an interesting spray. It comes out of orange-scented spray that you could just spray into the air, and it will get rid of almost every odor.
Okay, I will look into that.
I
know that.
I don't know the name of the one I've got at home, but I know I have one. I can look it up if you want me to.
Okay, maybe we can talk about that next week. There's for those who have cats and dogs, and especially cats. I bought a house many years ago, and the woman who owned it let her cats have control of the house during the period from a contract to buy to closing, and the carpeting was absolutely soaked in urine, and it went down through into the padding, and so I pulled it all up and I washed it, and then I sprayed something called Odoban. It's available in gallon jugs, and it seems to have an enzyme that loves cat urine, and it just absolutely worked. It worked, just spraying it on and waiting about a week, the odors were gone. So that's something I'd like to share with our class. So you may have that situation, and that product does work, Odoban. I was reading a story about this woman who has what she calls a allergy to wireless communications, Wi-Fi. And symptoms are heart palpitations, earaches, lower back pain. She wears a mesh helmet, kind of like a scarf, but it's a wire mesh helmet to protect herself. Dr. Shealy, there are people who think that this is nonsense. What are your thoughts about, I won't call it an allergy, but I would call it a reaction to, a disabling reaction to electromagnetic radiation in the microwave band with the same frequencies that are used for cooking food in the microwave oven, cell phones.
Well, I consider microwaves one of the most obnoxious of all. And microwave ovens, I don't have one and wouldn't have one in my house. There are a lot of people who are very sensitive to electromagnetic influences in the 60-cycle range. Even refrigerators and old-fashioned electric typewriters and fluorescent lights especially. There are people who truly are very brain-wise, nervous system-wise, sensitized to those things. They tend to be hyper-excitable, depressed, and anxious, among other things. It's very difficult to treat, but most of those people can be corrected with the use of plenty of magnesium, usually intravenously, and photostimulation with flashing lights down in the relaxation range, cranial electrical stimulation, and my biogenics. I've treated many, many of them. And then they can tolerate at least the normal electromagnetic influences.
Dr. Shealy, is it possible, and I feel I'm hypersensitive to electromagnetic radiation as well. I don't think I'm depressed. Maybe I am, but I don't think so.
I don't think so. I agree.
Is it possible that there are people like me who have more metal in our bodies from whatever we've been exposed to? I certainly haven't used lead cups like, as in ancient times for drinking, so I haven't intentionally poisoned myself with lead. However, I fired a lot of rounds out of a rifle and a pistol and a shotgun, most of the time in the outdoors, because I was concerned about ventilation indoors at rifle ranges and so forth, and pistol ranges indoors. But I have worked on batteries. I'm talking about the lead terminals on batteries. I've soldered a lot in my life with electrical rosin core solder. I've tried to not inhale the fumes, but I'm sure that I did it, to some level.
Now here's what you need to do, Vincey boy.
Okay.
You need to take 1,000 milligrams of DMSA. It's just a little capsule. It's a key
DMSA or DMSO?
I'm sorry?
DMSA or DMSO?
DMSA.
Okay.
It's a prescription drug, but it's available. And then get a 24-hour urine to measure all metal output.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lab test that will tell you whether you have, excess of any of the toxic metals.
Okay. That sounds wonderful. 1,000 milligrams of DMSA and a 24-hour
urine for toxic metals.
Okay. Urine test. And is that available from any lab test now, Dr. Shealy, the urine test for heavy metals?
I think it is. Now, the DMSA I would have to give you a prescription for.
Okay. All right. That sounds great. And is this something that someone like me who's listening to this broadcast who thinks that he or she may have this sensitivity to electromagnetic radiation, do you think that's a symptom?
Thinking about.
Okay.
It's definitely worth thinking about.
Okay. And I'm just trying to connect some dots. Maybe because there might be more metal than typical in my body, that maybe that's why my body reacts. Because I know when I'm under a microwave tower. I know when the cop behind me has radar. I know when that radar gun is on. I know when I'm behind a cop with radar that the radar is on. I can tell when it's on and when it's not on. As a matter of fact, there were a bunch of guys here at the farm, and they were working on our smart meter, and lightning took it out, which I was really delighted about that. But they were so concerned that they overbilled me for the electrical consumption that they thought we had. So they sent 4 guys and 2 trucks out here to reconnect the smart meter. And they said, okay, we're waiting for it to power up. Wait. I said, it's on. It's on. I know it's on. I can feel it. And they looked at me like, really? No, it's working. It's transmitting right now. And sure enough, I was right. And I'd like to get rid of that thing. But until I get our batteries and go completely off grid, I'm stuck with that darn smart meter. But to protect that smart meter from any damage, I put a can over it, a metal coffee can. And so I want to make sure that all the electromagnetic radiation doesn't get out, that I can protect ourselves from at least a little bit. And that's why I've used that can. But I'm going to do that, Dr. Shealy. I'm going to have that test done. And in the same line of thinking, is it possible that we could have too much copper in our bodies? We've talked about this a little bit before, but I'm wondering, there are plenty of people who still have copper plumbing in their homes. And if they do, and we talked about the lead, that was a concern, where the lead joints are soldered. Do we have to worry about the
interesting
part?
thing is that the biggest problem or potential for copper is the relationship between zinc and copper.
Okay.
You need both, but you need 5 to 8 times as much zinc as you have copper. And people can be deficient in either or occasionally excessive in either.
What would be the symptom of a zinc deficiency?
Well, the primary effect is on the immune system. So you're much more prone to infections, etc., and ultimately cancer.
When we come back, we've got Mike in Tennessee. He's on hold. They just joined in, and I'll click that call online, on air, when we come back. Dr. Norman Shealy is with us, normshealy.com. Dr. Norman Shealy is with us, joining us. Mike in Tennessee. Welcome, Mike. Mike, you there?
Hey, Mike.
Hey, greetings and Merry Christmas, Dr. Shealy and Vincent. I'm slowly learning how to hit that mute button off. I just wanted to call and wish you guys Merry Christmas and let you know that I called in about a week or so ago about a fellow that I met that's an F-18 pilot whose wife had a really difficult pregnancy with a child that was not growing properly, and it looked like it was because of exposure to depleted uranium and other chemicals they were exposed to while in the Middle East, though their doctors were telling them it was, quote, a genetic condition. Well, since my conversation with them, they've started talking to other people in the military like themselves who are experiencing problems with reproduction. And even here on the Parsons farm, we've got wolfies that have had breast cancer, rabbits that have had breast cancer, chickens that have had breast cancer. And so we're seeing this full onslaught attack on we the people. And I talked to this fellow the other day, and he invited me to his group meeting. They've got a bunch of these military folks now looking into things other than what the government's telling them is the problem, and they do listen to your show. They asked me to ask a question because many of them are still employed with the government, and they're afraid to go on air because of retribution. One of the guys said that he had noticed, and this is something that he, was embarrassed to talk about. And then there was a couple of others. There's about 12 people total in this men's meetup. And he said that he had noticed over the past 5 years that he had shrank. Without getting graphic, he had went from, as he said, proud of his 8 inches of wonder to 3 inches of nothingness. And he says he doesn't have diabetes, otherwise eats healthy, not on any drugs. I think he's in his late 40s. And another guy in the group complained about the same thing. He said, yeah, I've noticed that too. And I said, well, I can't relate to those issues, but I will share that with Dr. Shealy, who may have an idea if this is just natural aging or if this is something you're exposed to. But obviously there's not going to be a lot of guys call into this show and ask about this. I said, well, look, guys, I'll call in for you.
Hey, I'm so glad you brought up that subject because obviously it is real. Now, it is not natural in the 40s for certain. Most men in the 50s develop less testosterone. But what we are seeing, not just in men but in women, is a remarkable estrogenizing of society. And it's because of a number of pesticide, herbicide poisons, as well as other influences, some of which seem to come from the government. Now, the antidote for that particular part of the poisoning is to get your DHEA up. This is a long and complex discussion. I don't think we're going to have.
Did we just lose Dr. Shealy? Or did we just lose me?
You're still there, Vincent. I can't hear Dr. Shealy.
Yeah. Okay. I just checked the screen, and we're connected. I think we just lost Dr. Shealy, but I can tell you that when we come back next week, Mike, would you consider joining us? Maybe hour number 1 with Dr. Shealy on Wednesday, and let's talk more about this. I have a feeling that what you're saying is a lot more widespread than most men would like to admit, as you said. I have a feeling you're right on target, as usual, Mike.
Well, this is something that needs to be addressed openly and exposed, and if there's something to correct it, men are out there and women are out there obviously looking for solutions.
Absolutely. Mike, do you think you can come back next week with Dr. Shealy?
God willing, I will do everything I can to accompany you and Dr. Shealy on Wednesday of next week.
Great. Mike in Tennessee, thank you so much for joining us. Class, above all, honesty and integrity. What happens next is up to you. Class,